Kerri Lindstrom is a global citizen for life. Her work supporting various intercultural and global health organizations is shown through her selflessness and hard work. She values communication and storytelling as a means of opening up the larger dialogue of understanding, stronger global networks, and peace building. I'm going to discuss her journey today.
Thank you, Kerri, for joining me today to discuss a little bit about what you do, what you've done over the last few years, and I'm really excited about discussing your journey.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
So let's start off. Tell me a little bit about the work you did in the public health sector, specifically in the Asia Pacific region of the world.
Yeah, sure. So I was a grants manager for the Treat Asia program at the Foundation for AIDS Research. And so I was working with clinicians, researchers, doctors, PhDs, and their study teams from 12 different countries in the Asia Pacific. So mostly East Asia and Southeast Asia, as well as India. And it was great because I guess we have the office had a kind of like a headquarters for the program in Thailand. And I'm big on language learning. So I learned a little, as soon as I got the job, I dove in and started learning a little bit of Thai. And I just feel like that because a lot of my colleagues are Thai, working, for the program. And I think that kind of, just helped. And then, I just supported, mostly via email, I supported, dozens of investigators, principal investigators, with their grants, budgets and contracts and things that they had with the organization.
So I think it's really good that you mentioned learning a little bit of Thai and getting used to being able to communicate in that way. So has language or language barriers been an issue or something that's come up a lot in your work?
No, I think I think the people that I was working with, they're all doctors, and hospital workers. And I think for the most part, English is the third most common spoken language and so important for business, that English was definitely always the primary mode of communication. I guess sometimes, I think some of the doctors in the network maybe didn't speak, weren't used to speaking English maybe, and didn't talk with me as much. But as far as our day-to-day, most of our day-to-day was over email anyway. So so I feel it never was really a problem.
And you think that even though you were speaking or communicating remotely, that was enough to sustain a really good relationship, with your stakeholders and other people abroad?
Oh, can you say that again? Sorry.
I said that, even though you were using email, that was enough to sustain a very positive or good relationship with stakeholders.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. And then getting to see everyone once a year. I always felt really good about seeing them and putting in that FaceTime. I think another thing is so interesting is that some of the people I worked with, they would send little pictures or thank yous or something cute over email. And it just kind of gave it that friendly feeling. I think one of the clinics in Indonesia sent an Eid holiday email or something, a nice, a beautiful beautiful picture. And I just feel little things like that, outside of the business, kind of helped to strengthen the the working relationships.
So what got you interested in what you're doing? Was there a moment that led you to where you are, or a series of events that led you to where you are?
I think it's a series. Yeah. So I guess I got really excited about working for the Foundation for AIDS Research. I think I became interested in the HIV epidemic in high school. I became familiar with Rent and like went to the show, and like there was a couple of other like theater productions that I was part of. A Normal Heart by Larry Kramer. I did a little work on that show too, and I just like I don't know, I just like thought it was like a really interesting field and something that needed like work on a global scale. And like people, it's great like how far like medicine has come now, as opposed to like the time and the in the 80s and 90s when like people were like literally fighting for medication that would be life-saving. But there's like, there's still not a cure. So yeah.
And what got you interested in like working in cultural affairs?
Yeah. So I guess in college, I took an intercultural theater course, and I also spent time in Taiwan. Oh, in middle school, I started traveling abroad with like a student group. So yeah, I guess there's like a long line of things. Yeah. And yeah, so from like traveling in middle school and high school, on like there was called a People to People Student Ambassador Program.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, no way, really? That's cool. I think that started it. I think, yeah, and I've always just like been interested in, like, I'm a big fan of languages. So like in college, I spent a semester in Taiwan and learned Mandarin. And I guess like, yeah, ever since like those middle school trips, I think I've just been like really interested in how other people like live in places that aren't here, and like, and culture, and like, also I've always thought, I guess like, after traveling some, like you can see like these really interesting differences, and it's like really like different cultures are fascinating, but like the things that like there's just like this basic like sameness too, like everyone's like, there are these things that everybody shares and everybody does. It's like yeah, I don't know, it's just like, it's like really interesting.
So tell me a little bit more about the other side. What got you interested in starting a nonprofit?
Yeah, so my friend, I kept running into my friend Melanie from college when I moved to New York. And she had this other like kind of iteration of the other side before I kind of came into the picture, where she was performing and doing like either one-woman shows or smaller shows with friends. And she would perform them like at fringe festivals, like internationally. She like performed these things like all over the place. And then she also kind of on the side, like kind of like parallel to that but not connected, she was teaching. She started doing theater, like a theater teaching thing at a school in India in like rural Uttar Pradesh, like 4 hours by bus outside of Delhi. And then like her and I got together and like we started like meeting up and like kind of rekindling our friendship. And I had been a theater major in college, and I had taken this intercultural theater class, and I've like kind of always, I think since then I had wanted to do something where like that like connected people in different places through art, like some sort of art exchange. And Melanie in a way was already doing this. She was teaching, like she was like on her way there. Like she is teaching in New York, like music, and she was teaching theater in India. And we kind of both together like just came up with the other side intercultural theater. I mean, it's her, like it's her, I think it's more her baby than mine. But because like, she kept the same name from the organization that she had before, and like, or the, the shows that she had been doing. But yeah, it was like so much fun to see it like grow and build. So basically the other side, we'd work with girls in New York City and also girls in India. There's kind of been talks or things in the works to work with girls in Kenya as well. But yeah, it's just that it's like, an exchange. It's like a cultural theater exchange between girls in New York and girls in India. And it is fascinating to see the issues that they face. And sometimes the issues are different, but they're always related, like as a girl in the community.
Do the girls do any type of traveling as part of the exchange, or no?
No, we do it remote, which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So they work on things like together, even though they're remote, or
They do separate projects. I mean, I think I would love to see them actually work on something together and make something, like
yeah.
write something together. I think that would be really amazing. Right now, though, they do programs separately, but then they like share their work with each other once
Oh,
they're
okay.
as the program progresses. They like talk to each other about what it's like to be a girl in their community. They exchange like songs and art and poems, and then eventually their shows, like their theater pieces that they come up with. So,
Really cute.
yeah,
So what are
that's
your
cool.
goals as being part of the advisory board? Like,
Um,
do you have any goals for 2020 or goals just in general for
oh
the
yeah.
couple of years?
Um, I think it's important. Like I think the advisory board is an important part of the other side community. Um, I think right now we're really focused on fundraising,
Hmm.
and kind of just like helping to like spread the word and try to get like more people interested and involved, because it's still a pretty small organization. We've grown a lot, but yeah, I think just like being part of the community to like build the support that the organization needs to keep going.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the oh, sorry, it's weird. I got some feedback. I'm
Sorry.
gonna edit that out. No, it's okay. You're fine. It's weird. I can hear myself and then I hear like popping. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to take it out. We're all good. Um, so do you have any like upcoming projects or anything do you have like goals coming up for 2020? Things that you want to work on personally, or any type of travel you want to do?
Um, oh my gosh. I would love to travel, but right now it's like hard to even like plan it
I
with
know, I know.
this virus. Um, Goals for 2020. Hmm. I would like to get back into language classes. Um, Culturally speaking, I don't think I have any goals for 2020. um, Not yet. Do you?
um, Culturally speaking,
I don't know. Like on
continue
topic.
working on my interview series.
Yeah. Yeah,
Trying to
that's
get
cool.
more people to talk to me on this project.
Yeah.
um, but what do you think is the most important takeaway from like all the work you've been doing for the last couple of years?
Mm, no, I guess it's like a small place, the world, and I actually like I adored my colleagues in Bangkok, and so I'm still in touch with a couple of them, and that's been like really great. And so to answer, I guess one of your questions, I do think it's like entirely possible to like sustain a relationship remotely. Like even though I've only met them in person like 4 or 5 times,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think it's I think like I don't know. I guess like in like business or like in like the professional world, like we don't get to. A lot of people travel for work, and a lot of people work, you know, across different like countries and cultures now, like more than ever, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I don't know. It's just like it makes work fun for sure. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, right? It it makes work really great when you're speaking with someone like in a totally different time zone, and you know they're in a totally different place. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I thought like it was interesting how like that you did a lot of work abroad, or like you have like little projects, or like the nonprofit that you were working with. Like, how did those interactions shape you as a person, and how have these interactions, do you believe these interactions to be good for the world and very positive? And I mean, I believe they do. That's why I
Yeah.
like types of topics, and how like
Yeah.
it's important to continue to be open-minded, and I think it's important to meet new people and to be like going in with, okay, I know we're not the same. I know we're not in the same time zone, and that's okay. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to have, these stereotypes that are perpetuated in our society. I mean, I think a very good example is just what's going on in the world right now with the virus, stereotypes and the racism. And, like I said, even with working with like AIDS research, I'm sure you've come across tons of stereotypes and, discrimination, not you personally, but, if I, trying to oppose that, try to break down those barriers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, discrimination's like a huge barrier to like to prevention and to treatment. As like some people live in places where they can't easily go to a clinic and get HIV medications because there's like horrible stigma. So somebody would be like rude or mean to them in the clinic, or maybe they would like literally be like afraid to go in for testing or treatment or whatever it is. So
yeah, definitely. So that's so I think it's important to get the word out there of like these different things that you are working.
I think like, I mean, to me it feels like there's such like a small thing that a lot of people are doing, but I think all of it like contributes to what you're saying, like kind of like breaking down barriers and stereotypes and like and finding that we're more alike than we are different. Everybody wants these like same basic things, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of something else. Sorry, we might have to edit this part. But because I can't remember what I was going to say, but I thought it was important when you were talking about like people talking. Oh yeah, like peace building initiatives. Like I was reading about that company Away Travel with the suitcases. That make the luggage. Yeah.
No, I don't think I know this company.
Oh, I think they just like Instagrammed the crap out of me, like the ads or whatever. But they partner with like something called, I think it's called Peace Directors. It's sort of like like peace building nonprofit where they work with like in all different countries. And my husband's from Sri Lanka, and so I was interested when I was looking, like kind of doing research in this company, like I was interested in the organization. And one of the peace building initiatives is between Tamils and Buddhists and Malays in Sri Lanka after this like awful civil war that ended recently. And like that is like some real like in-person like communication between two kind of different groups of people. So I think I feel like that's like super real and super important for the world. But even just like the little thing, like like I don't know if it's the little things, but like what you and I are talking about, like through business or things, like just kind of making these connections and building these like relationships with people from different places, like that also like contributes to the same cause, right?
Yes. And I think it's just, it doesn't take a lot of effort. Maybe sometimes it's looking in the mirror and saying, or I don't say looking in the mirror, but realizing if you have a thought that's discriminatory, saying that's wrong, like I shouldn't have that thought, and taking that thought and throwing it in the garbage, and saying like, okay, maybe I had that thought because of the media, or maybe I had that thought because I was raised to believe a certain way, and then that thought is bad, and that thought's not, and it's facing yourself in the mirror and saying, I have to take this and have to change, and it's nobody's perfect at I'm not saying that's a good way to phrase it. Nobody's perfect, but we were all raised in certain ways. We've all had different influences over the course of our lives. And I mean, I think like for me, I was, it's not like I traveled a lot as a child or anything like that, but, maybe because I had a Filipino friend growing up that like, it's just different little, like certain little things. I mean, I'm not friends with this person anymore, but we grew apart. But it's just like certain little things and like make you more open-minded. And then I got like really into like anime, and like I was really into like, like Japanese culture. And again, I'm not into it anymore, but it's like having these, you just kind of expand your mind,
Yeah. It
and doing
does.
things like that.
I think the
Like you said, like
earlier, what?
I was gonna say, like you doing the student ambassador program for in
Yeah.
middle school, same thing.
Yeah. I think that was really important. I think that was maybe the most transformative thing. And I didn't even go like I went to like all like Western places too. It wasn't like I went to like Asia or something. I went to like Europe and Australia.
Mm-hmm.
But it was enough to like really open my mind, and it stayed open.
And that's good.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, and I always said this, like I remember when I did study abroad in college, there was a student who was not American. I met her, and I remember her being very closed-minded about the whole situation, and she wasn't even that far from France. I'm just gonna phrase it like that.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, well, I mean, I guess at least you tried, but like, you are in another country, so you gotta like
Yeah.
accept that things aren't going to be the way they are at home, for good or for bad, and
Yeah.
that's okay. No
Yeah.
one's saying you got to live here. Like no one's saying, all right, this is forever.
Yeah.
It's learn to
Yeah.
be, not more than just tolerant, just accepting and being
Yeah.
okay with like the way things are in the world and the way people, I'm not saying everything's okay or you have to accept, poor behavior, but I think general cultural differences is what makes the world go around.
Yeah, definitely.
If I had to hang out with a bunch of people who are like me, I think I would be pretty bored or
Pretty
annoyed.
bored.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, where's the fun in that? Right?
no,
Like,
no, a bunch of
yeah.
me would be boring, but
A bunch of what?
a bunch of me would be very boring. But one me is enough. But
Yeah. Yeah. One of all of us. We're all like unique and individual and interesting. in
we
our
all
way.
have common goals. We can all have common
Yeah.
goals, common interests, and common, like you said, we all get pimples. We all face,
All the
things
things.
in our lives that
Yes.
makes us, grow or makes us,
Hmm.
fearful. We all, it's
Yeah.
human nature.
Yeah. And different hardships and life
Mm-hmm.
experiences. Yeah. Um, I'm sorry. I like had this thought and then it left. It's been a really long week. I knew this was gonna happen. You know when you feel like you're not on? Like I'm feeling like we're having a really nice like conversation, but I don't feel like on it. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're like turned on,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, no, that sounds
A
terrible.
little tired
You're gonna
too.
edit this part, right?
Yes. My
Okay, thank
boyfriend
you.
woke me up at like 4 a.m. because he was like tossing and turning. I was like, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I woke you up. But I felt like asleep. But I think it like still like messed up like my sleep. Like all day I was kind of
Yeah.
like tired,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Uh,
awkward.
I, sorry. No, I'll try to think of it. But it definitely like was something about like, oh, now I remember. Is it? Yeah. So right. So we were talking about um, how like everyone has like there's like a lot of similarities between people as much as there are differences. And I remember a professor of mine up at Columbia.
Mm,
This is like a whole other story, actually. He had written this book about Africa that I had read like years before grad school. And then when I was
oh,
at
okay.
grad school at Columbia, he was like a professor there. And then I took his class and I was like, what is this? This is like insane. It's like a dream. Because he's a great writer and really interesting person, and he's a journalist. And he said, like, something along the lines of like everyone is interesting and everyone has a story to tell if you give them like 10 minutes of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way to put it. And that's why I'm trying to do this project. It's like I feel like everyone's got like a little story to tell and has something to contribute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like a really interesting project. Yeah. I feel like right now I'm like not as focused on this kind of topic right now, just because like I've just started a new job and it's not
mm,
international. It's just like domestic mostly.
yeah.
So it's like kind of like a little bit of a shift for me. So it's been like, it's like a fairly new thing, and I've been like that's where like my headspace has been.
I know, but that's okay. We're trying to open up spaces, let's clean up the cobwebs.
yeah, definitely.
So thank you, Kerri, for talking to me today. I think we had a really good conversation, and I wish you luck in everything.
Thank you.
Keep us posted on what's going on for the other side and any other things. And hopefully you do get to travel this year.
Hope so. Thank you.